Now, this is what I'm trying to tell you guys, and I want to give you guys the encouragement in, if you gain the competence, you will have the confidence. What's up, everyone? This is Ruben Young, aka the Young Electrician. Here on this podcast, we like to see electricians grow, not just in the field, but also in their personal lives. With that said, let's hop into this episode. First off, I have to start by apologizing. I have not uploaded an episode in maybe 3 weeks, and not because I didn't want to. I have been having some technical difficulties. I have a couple of interviews that I need to edit, but I'm having some issues either downloading them to my laptop or uploading them back to whatever program I'm using to edit. So I'm having some issues there. So I do have some upcoming interviews. So my apologies there. And I've been working pretty far. I've been driving like an hour in the morning and almost 2 hours after work, sometimes doing like 10-hour days. So it's been a little busy. But I did want to hop back on here, and I did want to make another episode. And I know you guys were asking for more journeyman prep episodes, so I'm hoping to do more of these where I focus on helping you guys pass the journeyman exam. So that's what this episode is going to be on, and we're going to do an episode today on competence equals confidence. Competence equals confidence. And the reason I want to do this episode is because if there's one thing all of us struggle with when it comes to taking the journeyman exam, especially the first time we take it, it's we lack confidence. We're nervous. You go into this, this testing center, you got to empty out your pockets. And for most of us, at least, I don't know how it is in your state, but you empty out your pockets, you put your stuff in this little locker, and, you're basically in prison for a little while. You get escorted to your little computer, and you sit there, and they're watching you. There's cameras. There's a computer system you haven't used before. And, they give you the NEC. And I don't know how it is in your state, but they give you 2 other books over here, which I recommend just put those waste of time books to the side, because you're going to waste your time looking through them. You don't need them. All this stuff is happening for the first time, and you're nervous. You're on a time crunch. As soon as that clock starts, you're going to have 4 hours, 4.5 hours, whatever it is, to take that exam. And it's nerve-wracking. You don't know if you're going to pass. You don't want to fail. You spend a lot of time studying. So one thing I realized, I was taking the journeyman exam. And you guys know that I failed the first time. And then I went back and I kicked its butt. I was nervous when I went in there too. And I noticed the second time I went in, I wasn't nervous. And I think I understand why now. Because the first time I went in there, I studied and I was completely on my own. I had no assistance from anybody. I had a journeyman prep book somebody recommended years before, and that's what I was studying. And I went in there and I was not confident. Therefore, I was nervous while I was taking the test. I was tripping up and, finding stuff in the code book. I was spending too long on, finding answers and looking through the code book. I didn't know a lot of the math, and I was just a wreck. But the second time I went and I took the exam, I was super confident the entire time. I felt good taking it. And the reason why, I believe, is because I had the competence of navigating the code book. I gained the competence of doing a lot of the equations, or knowing a lot of the general knowledge stuff, the different testers, the maintenance questions. I felt really confident because I had previously prepped for it. The reason I was so confident is because of my preparation. The first time I took the exam, I was prepping by myself. I lacked confidence in my preparation. I didn't know what was going to be on the test, and I believe that really held me back to really getting into the prep book that I had, because I feel like if I would have studied that book and studied those practice exams and really understood navigating the code book, I would have aced it. I would have passed the first time. But I didn't understand that I really needed to grasp how to navigate the code book. I knew I needed to navigate it. I didn't know that I really needed to understand that code book. I really needed to know how to find these questions and get familiar with the different sections of the code book. Now, I was finding questions pretty quickly, but because of my poor preparation or my lack of knowing how to prepare, I didn't invest as much time and energy as I should have in navigating the code book. So the first time I took the exam, I did lack the confidence because I lacked the competence. I did not feel comfortable navigating the code book as much as I should have. And the reality is, when I was prepping, I was going through a book by myself. I didn't have any guidance, any information. I just knew, okay, this is a prep book. I'm going to do the exams in it, and I'm going to try to learn as much as I could and then go and take this test. I didn't realize how much I needed to really dive into those questions, how much I really needed to understand the code book, how to find answers, what the different sections were. So I was kind of going in blind or kind of blind, and it really showed. It really showed when I was taking the exam. The second time I took the exam, I had a tremendous amount of confidence because I went through a prep program. And it's not for everybody. Everybody doesn't need to go through a prep program. I did. I was one of the people that needed that. I needed somebody to share with me exactly what I needed to know, exactly what I needed to study. Because even after taking the exam the first time, I was still kind of a little blind. There was stuff that was on the Journeyman Prep that I didn't even realize I needed to study. There was information they gave me that I didn't pick up when I failed the exam. So I needed somebody to actually instruct me and pull that curtain back for me. And when I did that, and I actually prepared myself, I over-prepared myself because I took this course. And then, after the course ended, 2 weeks later is when I took my journeyman exam. And the reason I did that is because I didn't feel like I really understood the information that was being taught in the program. So I spent one entire week going over everything I learned in the course. Everything that was taught in that course, I went over it one whole week. And then for the second week, I just went and I did practice questions from my prep book. So I wanted to be over prepared. And when I got to the test site, I was confident. I was confident because I knew how to navigate the code book. I had these equations that I learned on lock. And now this is what I'm trying to tell you guys, and I want to give you guys the encouragement in, if you gain the competence, you will have the confidence. The competence is, what competence is, I should say, is the ability to perform a task with efficiency and successfully, or successfully with efficiency. That's what competence is. Can you perform this task or do this thing successfully and efficiently? And then that's competency. But with competency comes confidence. And I want to give you guys an example of this. Now, if you have a first-year electrician, 3 months in the trade, and you have them wire up a panel, they're going to land the breakers, they're going to land the feeders coming in, and they're going to land the grounds and neutrals. How long do you think that's going to take them? That could take them a few hours. I mean, it could, in reality. It could take them a couple hours, few hours. They could be there all day. And maybe you've been there and you've experienced something similar to this. And then you get somebody who has landed panels, maybe a journeyman or electrician that's been in the trade a little longer. And it might take them 30 minutes to land that whole panel, knock it out, and they're done. They do it very quickly. Now, the reason is the person who doesn't have the experience is also going to lack the confidence. So not only are they not going to really understand where they're supposed to land stuff and have the full confidence of knowing, hey, this is where I land this. Should I start from the bottom of my grounds and land them going up? Should I start from the top and land them? Should I, come in from the inside into my ground? Should I come from the outside of the panel by the side into my grounds? They're going to have all of these thoughts in their head. How should I land my grounds? How should I land my neutrals? Am I supposed to be numbering the neutrals? I'm going to land my hots in these breakers. Does it look good? Is this how I'm supposed to land it? And not only have they never landed these before or know exactly what it should look like, they also have all these questions in their head, which is taking up mental space. And I hope this is making sense, because this is what happens when we do anything, when we're performing a task at work, when we're taking an exam. If we don't have the confidence, or I should say, if we don't have the knowledge and the experience of what to do, it will take us longer. And this is important because when we're navigating the code book, when we're taking the exam, the majority of the exam, we are navigating the code book. And we need to learn to do that successfully and effectively and efficiently and quickly. And if you lack the confidence, guess what? Not only is it going to take you a long time to find the question because you don't know where it's at, it's going to take you a longer time because you also have these other thoughts in your head, the thoughts that come from having a lack of confidence. I really hope this is making sense to you. So the guy that's making up the panel, he's going to take longer, not only because he doesn't know exactly what to do or how to make it look nice, but he also has all these voices in the back of his head, all these questions in his head. Am I doing it right? Should I do it like this? But the guy that has confidence, he's on one track. The guy that has the competence, he is on one track. I know how I'm landing my neutrals. I know how I'm landing my grounds. I know what to start with. I know how to bring my hots into the breakers and make them look good. I know how to land my feeders. That guy's going to do it a lot quicker, not just because he knows where to land them and knows how to land them, but he also doesn't have all those questions taking mental energy in his head. I really hope that's making sense. So I really wish I had this understanding when I was taking the exam, especially the first time, because I would have studied questions a lot more. If you have journeyman prep questions, which you should, you need to do practice exams and get familiar with it. Get very familiar with the code book, because it will give you confidence. It will give you competence. And I'm telling you, I just had a buddy, twice he failed the exam. And I think he had like a 69 on both exams. And the first time he took the exam, he was saying he's taking a sweet time answering questions because he wanted to get them right. And I was like, who the heck told you to take your time on each question? That's the opposite of what you should do. When you're in there, you need to spend a minute or less on each question. And I'm telling you, if you spend more than a minute on a question, you need to guess, mark it, and skip it. Pick an answer, whatever, you have 25% chance of being right. Pick an answer, skip it, move on. And then at the end, because if you do this, at the end you should have at least 30 minutes if you're doing this efficiently. If you have the competence, if you have the confidence, you should have at least 30 minutes where you could go back and then you could spend extra time on those questions and try to get them right. And I experienced this when I took the exam the second time because I had a whole hour left over. And there was about 15 questions that I wasn't 100% sure about. But guess what I did in that hour? I found 14 of those questions. I found them in the code book. And, some of them I got right, some of them I got wrong, but I found them. So I knew without a shadow of a doubt, 14 of those were right. And there was one I just could not find in the code book. And I spent 25 minutes trying to find it. The whole remainder of the time I spent trying to find this, and I could not find this particular question. And from practicing navigating the code book, from practicing doing these practice exams, I had this confidence that allowed me to skip questions. Because I knew, and this is something for you guys, remember this, there are some questions in the exam that are made to trip you up. There are some questions that are made to trip you up. So if you're going through the exam and it takes you more than a minute to find a question, guess and skip it. And now, hear me out here. If it takes you more than a minute to find the majority of the questions in the exam, you're not ready to take it. You were not ready to take the exam. If you're studying and preparing properly, you should be able to find some of those questions within 15 to 20 seconds. Some of those questions you should just know. You should be like, oh, I know where that chart is because I've been studying. Flip over to that chart, find your answer, bam, move on. If you're spending more than a minute on each question, you are not ready. Now, this is a way to, I'm going to give you guys a little tip on knowing if you're ready. And I learned this from the Contractors Intelligence School when I was getting my C10 exam, or when I was getting my C10 license. When you're doing your practice exams, let's say you've been studying for 2 months, it's coming up to where you're taking your exam, and now you're still taking practice tests, you should be getting at least 80%, somewhere between 80% and 100 on each exam. If you're not, if you're getting 70 and under, you're probably not ready to take the exam and you need to push your date back. I'm telling you, when you're taking your exams, your practice exams, and if you're coming close to your date and you're getting 70% or less, you need to push your date back. You need more time to prepare. If you're getting 80%, 75, 80, 90, 100% on your practice exams, you're ready to take it. You could have the confidence. You're over-prepared. And I'd rather be over-prepared than under-prepared again because I've experienced both of them. So my advice is do practice exams. And the reason you're doing them is because you want to gain the competence. Think back when you first started, how long it took you to install a box, how long it took you to run some wire. And I want you guys to think about this. Remember all the questions you had in the back of your head. Am I doing it right? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Am I supposed to do it like this? All that mental energy that's being taken up. So not only do you not know how to do it, but you're taking longer because you don't have the mental peace to just perform your task and think clearly. You have all these questions in your head. And I want to spare you that on the exam. I want you to study practice exams and get very familiar with the code book. This is your career. This is your life. That code book is what everything you do in your career is based off of. Following that code book, knowing how to navigate that code book. So the confidence I want to give you guys today and the encouragement I want to give you guys today is gain the competence. Become competent with the NEC. Because you will have that confidence. And I noticed when I asked the question on Instagram, or actually I shared reasons why people don't take the exam. And I got a lot of responses there because I don't think I mentioned it in my list of reasons. People were saying, well, people lack confidence. People are afraid. I'm like, wow, that's true. That is true. I don't even know why I didn't think of that. We lack confidence because we lack competence. Now, if I put you on something, let's say you rope units for a living, right? You're a residential guy. If I put you to rope units, you're going to knock it. You're going to look like a top-notch journeyman superstar knocking that out. But now if I say, hey, I need you to go work on the switch gear and put it together, but you don't do switch gear, you've never done it before, or maybe you've done it once, you're not going to have the same confidence. You're not going to have the same level of speed or quality or understanding or assurance or competence. And you're not going to do as good. But if I take the guy that all he's done for the last 8 years is switch gear, and I tell him, hey, you're going to rope this unit. Guess what? He might be a superstar on the switch gear, but he's probably going to suck at roping that unit. He's probably going to mess some stuff up and drill through a water pipe or something. But because competence equals confidence, we need to become competent with the code book, especially if we're taking an exam. That's a hurdle all of us have to get past, passing the Journeyman Electrical Exam. And in order to do that, or to do that efficiently, we need to navigate the code book. So I'm telling you, get prep courses or get Journeyman Prep questions, buy them online, they're flipping everywhere, and do them. 30 minutes a day, hour a day, whatever it is, practice them. Practice them. Get familiar with the different sections of the code book. And a lot of these code books, I know the one that I use, not code books, Journeyman Prep books, the one that I use took me through the entire NEC. So by the time I finished the prep book, I've seen just about every inch of the NEC. And I've been through it multiple times, so I felt really confident. confident. I don't know if all of them are like that because I've only went through one journeyman prep book, but I liked it. The only issue is I think they stopped producing them after 2017. I cannot find a 2020 version. I cannot find a 2023 version. And it's very depressing because that book was awesome for navigating the code book. So that's my encouragement to you guys today. Gain the competence and you will gain the confidence. And that'll be one last thing you have to worry about when you go into test. Also, make sure when you're doing your journeyman exam preparation exams that you're aiming for getting 80% or more, so that you'll know that you're over prepared for it and you're going to ace it when you get in there. You need to do all these things to build not just your competence, but your confidence. You want to go in there like a rock star, knowing you're going to ace it. Not worried, not thinking, man, did I study properly? Do I know what I need to know? Dude, learn to navigate the code book. You'll know what you need to know. So with that said, I'm going to end that here. This is kind of a shorter episode. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but usually when I'm by myself, episodes are a little bit short. I don't want to just drag on. I want things to be short, sweet, and to the point. If you guys have got anything out of this episode, then please leave a comment, leave a rating. It really helps our podcast here, and it helps us to reach more people and to help more people. If you guys have any suggestions of what you guys would like to hear on the podcast, any type of guests or any topics, then feel free to reach out. Our email is theyoungelectricianpod, Pod, at gmail.com. And you guys just email me there and let me know. Or you guys could go to theyoungelectrician.com, and there you guys could just go to the contact form and just submit your question or submit your suggestion on a topic, and I'll probably pick it up and cover it, or at least answer your email. So with that said, hey, I appreciate you guys. I wish you guys the best of luck and the best of success, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.